Welcome to Senior College Application Night. Yes, go ahead, give it up for Senior College. I cannot tell you how phenomenal it is to see all of you here. I was really, before I left, I was telling my wife how excited I was to present and help all these families. I had a feeling it would be a large crowd because this crowd last year in the spring was very large for our junior night. And to have a continuum of 2 years in a row, face-to-face, lots of people interested and eager to learn is just phenomenal. So we thank you all for coming. My name is Tom Doherty. I'm one of the school counselors here. I also wear two hats. I also oversee our College and Career Center. Along with me to my left is Mr. Bob Boza, one of our school counselors. Outside, you may have seen Ms. Tammy Kurth. She's also one of our school counselors. There she is. There she is, Ms. Kurth. Thank you. And Ms. Hutzler, our guidance director, is also here. And we had a special guest again, and we're so happy to have her 2 years in a row. From ISAC, we have a representative, that's the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. They work with financial aid. We're so happy to be paired with Marina Pasquale, who was over at this door handing some financial aid information out. So we're so happy to have our crew here. Behind the scenes, Mr. Boza, myself, and Ms. Kurth are kind of the senior planners for things like this, so that's why we're here, not all of our counselors. So we kind of divide that up behind the scenes. We also know that financial aid is a big piece of what seniors ask about and families are interested about, so we will have it up on the slide. We have a financial aid night where Marina will be presenting and answering questions. That's September 28th, so go ahead and mark your calendars for that. Again, it will be in our presentation. Again, just so excited to be here. As we start off, just our senior team here behind the scenes, we have sons or daughters that are through college. Some of us have sons or daughters that are in college, or we took them to college in the last few weeks, so we can relate to kind of what you're going to be going through. And we also, Mr. Boza and I, ironically enough, have seniors at home, in which I was talking with my senior before I left about some essays and different things on the screen porch. So I sit with you we sit with you in different realms around the community and kind of see it from the school end and the parent end and understand some of those conversations that might come up while you're watching a game or at a musical event or things like that. So we're here to help wherever you are in the process. I always like to, at the start of the senior event, kind of get an idea as to who is a first-time senior parent through the college search process. Great, great. A lot of people, thank you. And who is a person who has been through it before? Seen it through, you've been through it before. Great. Okay, so those people with their hands that were just up, maybe you asked them some things on the way out, because they probably have some little tips and tricks. It is a process, and even those people who have been through it before, it changes from year to year. It really, really does. And that's why we have our College Career Center and our counselors trying to be up to date as possible. We do have some people scrolling in, and we do have seats available. Can maybe everybody scooch kind of towards the middle, please? Or allow some people to get in past you? We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, front row here.
Front row seats. I was teasing them up here. If we say something bad, you can just kind of push us there.
It is super exciting to be here and not talking into a computer screen like last year. Super exciting.
Yes, we did see you last year on junior evening on Zoom, which is just not the same. So it's so nice to see you. Okay, so let's go to the first slide, please. So I like graphics, little stories. Think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and in this particular picture, I kind of use that as a representation, students, for you as your past education. You know, kindergarten through 12th grade, for the most part, I mean, maybe you've changed some schools or moved. We know we do have a transient area. But for the most part, you knew you were going to go from first to second and third and fourth, fifth grade, all the way through. It's kind of a straight line. That's, to me, what this represents. Our next picture, please, thank you, is this. And this picture, to me, could represent many different things. Students, if you're looking at that, that could be your future. Like, where are you going? And which exit are you going to get off on? And are you going to see the sign, the exit, or are you going to miss the exit and you're going to go a different way? Or if you get off on one of those exits now, and you think you're going to go here, you could end up somewhere else down the line. It could also represent, students, what's going on in your head right now, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start, I don't know where to go, I need to narrow this down, and the process is so big. And from the parent's perspective, since this is an all-inclusive presentation, I think for me as a parent going through this, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know where they're going to end up. We don't know where they're going to get accepted. We don't know what the money, the financial situation might look like. And so where is my son or my daughter going to end up going? And it could be confusing. It could be hopefully exciting. It could be a little bit scary. And we've all been there. The one thing I would hope that those people who had their hands up second, who have been through the process, would tell you is that it will work out one way or another. It always does. You might not know how, and that's the scary part for parents and for students, but it will work out. Next slide. We really believe in this. We believe that yes, there might be a right fit for you. And we talked about college fit. We talked about that last year in our junior presentations. But really, believe in yourself, students, and bet on yourselves, because there might be 5 schools or 10 schools that you could go to, and you're going to have to pick one of them. But it's not always so much the school that's going to make it, it's going to be you that makes it and makes those connections. And I like to talk to seniors about that, because I really hate to see a senior come in that is so disappointed that they didn't get in this one school in the spring. I've seen that. Some students be distraught about that. And I really want you to take that attitude, like, it's more about me and what I can do as a student and what I can bring this university, aside from the money that you bring to the university, but your skills and talents is what really can make your experience. So keep that in mind and keep it real as you go through. And if you get schools that don't want you, it's okay. Go somewhere that does and knock it out of the park. And that really could be the case, and that's the difficult part, is that all in your life you went to that next level, or maybe you're doing these certain classes and nobody denied you. But here, when we have an admit rate below 10%, or even, I think it's below 6 or 7% at Harvard, only that small amount of people get into those schools. So that would be the advice we'd leave you with, students, before we start. Next slide, please. So we just would like you to put a face to a name, since all of our counselors aren't here tonight, or our frontline workers, our house secretaries, are here, so you probably have maybe called and talked to one of them. So put a face to a name. Hopefully you got a handout as you came in. Ms. Perth or Ms. Hutzler can pass one out as you leave. We have a contact list with all the letters of the alphabet and the names. But here's a few of the faces. Next, please. The Victory House. There's Mr. Boza, myself, Ms. Beach. Next slide, please. There's Ms. Kurth and our staff up in the Honor House. And finally, the Spirit House. Ms. Keogh actually had a name change. I forgot to change that. Mr. Jager and Ms. Liska, along with Ms. O'Brien. And last but not least, the College and Career Center, kind of like a house right off the cafeteria. There's myself and Ms. Kraft. How many people have gotten an email from Ms. Kraft over the years? In Synergy, right? we would be remiss if we didn't put Ms. Kraft's picture, because there she is. She really works it hard to get that communication out. We do try our best to get as much communication out as possible. So keep your eyes on that, especially senior year, as we go through the process. So let's start again. Last year, I know we talked about our website. We just want to reiterate that. Again, after a year, next slide please. After a year of kind of really pushing our website, we found great results in some local scholarships because students were using it. We found some great results from parents telling us they really like using our site as a resource. Again, like we said last year, it's made to be simple. It was revamped a little bit this year, but it's still simple, and there's a lot of things that repeat, so it's easy to find. Fewer clicks, easier to find, better results is typically what we find. I do want to highlight a couple of things for seniors on the senior tab of the MattiaCounseling.org site. I looked at it this summer and thought, what are the most common buttons that our seniors are pushing or have pushed throughout the course of last year? And that's what I came up with there, circled at the top, so we went ahead and put them right at the top. Our local scholarship offerings, which we'll get to some scholarships in a little bit of detail today. That's not the purpose of this event, that's Financial Aid Night. But we post those there. Our transcript release form, our letter of recommendation form, if you need a letter of recommendation. Our fall college visits, we have almost 70 already signed up, are ready to come visit us. And then our application tracker, which is a way for you to stay organized. You can make it your own and stay organized with when you're submitting different things. Next slide, please. And also don't forget, down a little further on the senior tab, military visits, our other outside events. That's a unique one. Don't forget about it, because sometimes a college will be presenting at a hotel or a local venue, and that's where we'll post it. I've seen last year we saw some military academies posting and things like that, so we put that there along with some of the college fairs coming up as well. Mr. Boza?
Next slide, please. We do have students consider the branches. We have tons of information on that in the College and Career Center. We also have that link that Mr. Doherty was just talking about, where there's a specific schedule when they will be here during lunch periods. Each branch does come and schedule a time to come be here and talk to our students. We just had them out, I think they were here Friday. So they've already started for the year. So tons of information on that. Again, the link for that schedule is on our counseling website. Next slide. If you're considering the trades, also information on there as well. You can go to these links. We will have this posted probably by Monday on our website. Different links to some information about the trades, unions out there, as well as some certification programs through College DuPage. So definitely take a look at those links as well. Next slide. Our local community college, College DuPage, is this something you are slightly considering? We just encourage you to get that application out right away. We are lucky enough to have an application day, October 4th. They will be here represented for our students to apply with them that day, if you'd like, if your student would like. Again, community colleges are open admission, which means you graduate in the TIA Valley with your diploma, you are automatically accepted. I like to brag a little bit. I think we have one of the best in the nation, College DuPage, and what they offer and what our students who go there are well prepared beyond their time at College DuPage. So take advantage of that. There's a website. And again, if there's any inkling of you possibly wanting, your student possibly wanting to go there, I encourage you to get that application in early and then take advantage of possible scholarship opportunities for that. Next slide. So we got our 4 phases we'll talk about a little bit of applying to schools. In the pre-phase, things you should think about, have in mind. The admission requirements for that school. If you go to the school's website, if you go to admissions, those requirements should be right on there. Again, hopefully, we've talked about it the last few years. If you're brand new to us this year, hopefully you have that list either written down somewhere, mentally in your mind, and included in those lists is maybe some target schools that you really want to go to, maybe that REACH school, it's always been a dream of yours, as well as some safety schools. When this is posted, you can kind of look at the slides from last spring on that. Of course, look at what the application requires and those dates and deadlines. You're going to have to be ready with hopefully you use an email that's not your Mattia Valley email. Your resume, the application fee with a credit card, again, use your legal name and a way to organize your apps is through that application tracker tool. We will be presenting this information starting Monday in your son or daughter's English class. We always kind of have that conversation with them. It's a tough conversation sometimes with mom and dad about the finances. Like, who's paying for this? How are we going to pay? Are we looking at loans? So be open and honest as a family and have that conversation prior to getting in the thick of things here. Next slide. So we've broken it down into 4 phases when applying to schools. Okay, you're going to apply using online applications. Number 2, you're going to create a request in School Links, which we'll go through tonight. We need that in School Links because that's the tool we use to send the transcript out to the schools. And there's other required documents as well. You submit this paper form to the house that indicates to your counselor there's an item, there's a list of things that you need to do for that particular student. So that's sort of our reminder. And then there's some other requirements as well at the bottom for the final part of that phase. So looking at the applications, each school has either their own application or they are included in the common application, or some schools might be both. You can do either route. So when you start looking at the schools your son or daughter are interested in, you need to find out what type of application do they have. Do they have their own? Are they part of Common App? So take a look at that. As you can see, Common App has over 900 schools across the nation. It's recommended that if you have their own app or the Common App, you use those. There are some applications through Coalition out there. If you have other opportunities to go through this manner, we kind of encourage you to do that. We've come up with some issues through Coalition. If Coalition is the only way to apply to school, we'll get it done. We've done it in the past, and we'll get it through with you. Again, if there's issues or anything, just have that conversation with your counselor when you walk in with that request sheet. Next slide. Some admission terms that you should be aware of when applying to schools. Different types of admissions, meaning that they'll accept you in different ways. So rolling admission means if you apply to a school, if they're a rolling admission, you could find out within 7 to 10 days you've been accepted. They can make a decision, they'll let you know. They're a rolling admission institution. Right? Regular decision means they're posting deadlines. For example, University of Illinois is a regular decision. They have the deadline to get everything in, and then they'll have another date where their decisions will come out. So regular decision. Early action priority admission. If you want to apply early, you're kind of encouraging that school. Yes, I really want to go there. You meet that early action date, and you'll receive a decision earlier. Again, those rules will vary by schools. And then the binding decision, which is the least amount that we kind of deal with as counselors, is called early decision. If the school is early decision, that means that you want to go to that school if you get accepted. So if you go early decision, you're telling that school, if you take me, I'm going to go to you, I'm going to go to your school, and I can afford the tuition to go to that school. So when someone goes early decision, we as counselors have to sit down with that student because there's some forms that we need to fill out to make sure everyone's on the same page. So it's a binding decision, early decision. Of the 4, early decision is the only binding decision. So just do your research carefully on that. Getting into essay and personal statements. I think I want to show this. You want to show this? All right. We're going to click on, this is a short clip from the University of Michigan representative. We can just click on that. She's very good in terms of personal statements. Back one slide. Right there. Yep. Thanks.
If you're a college student like me, especially, you need Grammarly in your...
story through your college essays. My name is Megan Patis, and I am an admissions counselor from the University of Michigan. As we kick off this college application process, you're going to start hearing a lot of keywords and terms like be authentic, use your voice, show us, don't tell us. And what does any of this really mean? When it comes down to it, the only way for us to get to know you is through your college application. And the area that you have the most control and autonomy over telling this story is through your college essays. So how are you going to tell your story? As a first step, I encourage you to get all of your ideas out into a piece of paper. Think about your life experiences and areas of interest and how they have made you the person that you are today. Ultimately, your goal will be to choose one of these experiences or topics and to build upon that story, rather than trying to cram all 17 to 18 years of your life into a 500-word essay. It's not going to be possible, and it's not going to be enjoyable for either of us. Sometimes students feel that they need to have extraordinary life experiences in order to have an extraordinary application essay, and that's not always the case. Oftentimes, we are actually more interested in getting to know what you learned through a life experience, as major or as minor as it might seem to you, rather than the actual experience itself. And a big part about telling this story is about engaging the reader. Use descriptive words that really paint a picture and bring me into the story. What were you seeing, smelling, feeling when you were in that moment? Or looking back, how do you feel remembering that experience? Maybe your hands were trembling as you walked onto the debate stage for the very first time. Or you remember that familiar smell of chili powder as you entered the door. Or maybe looking back, you feel really empowered, remember what it feels like to stand up for what you believe in. And remember, this is your college essay. It's not a list of all the memories that your mom has from attending at school, or an update on what your brother is doing as a sophomore at that college. And as incredible as your grandparents or your personal heroes may be, at the end of the day, I'm not looking to admit them, I'm looking to get to know you. So at this time in the college exploration process, I encourage you to get a piece of paper out and do a little personal inventory to get to know yourself. Ask yourself questions like, what do I value? What am I really interested in? What kind of experiences from high school am I proud of that I'd like to highlight? How do I overcome challenges? Jot down all of these ideas so that when it comes time to write your essays, you're able to return to this sheet or this Google Doc wherever you're keeping your notes. And then, of course, make sure to check out all of our wonderful car videos, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the fall. Thank you, and be well.
She's from the University of Michigan. And then there's other scenarios where you might have to answer specific.
Writing admissions essays can be nerve-wracking. So here's some advice from your friends at AgCount. Don't sweat it.
Well, Mr.
This is a
Wilson, I thought
chance
that was
to
your
tell your
voice.
story.
That's all.
All right, next slide. So the FERPA is a question that you'll have to answer when going in the Common App as well as school links. This is a federal law that protects the privacy of students' records. So when you answer that question, majority of our students waive the process. That allows a recommender, the writer, to be as candid, as honest as possible. Like, we do have some students who want to go through and talk about that. Do I want to waive or do I not want to waive? Just come on into your counselor and we can have that discussion. But again, most of our students do waive that process. It just gives the writer the ability to be open, honest, and candid about everything. We don't have recommenders here or teachers here that are going to write bad letters for your subject. Anything to add to that, Purple?
I believe it's actually it's the letters if you go to that university and you wanted to look back at them and really, students aren't really doing that much, but again, it is totally up to you. What I would recommend, because we don't want to tell you how to answer that question, we'll post a video rendition of this. We're recording this, so we'll post that and the slides. I'll make these some PDF slides. If you want to click on that, what is the FERPA waiver, read about it, make your own decision as to do that, as to how to answer that question.
Does this work?
Yes, Ms.
Everyone
Kirk.
look over here. And just to add on, Mr. Boza said, we don't write bad letters. So in my career of 19 years, I've only told one student that I can't write a letter for you. So in order for us to be candid, that's what the purpose is there for. Like if I can't write a good letter, if our teacher can't write a good letter, we'll be honest and say, maybe you should select someone else. So that's what it's there for. We're going to write good and glowing and healthy letters for you. Or you should find someone that will think about that.
Next slide. And then just be aware of deadlines. You know, those deadlines are very important. I think that it's important to give your counselor ample time. We ask for 10 days so we can process things. We always have the story every year, that one individual coming to us on Friday right before winter break, can you do this. So don't be that student this year. Just give us time. It doesn't take us 10 days, but we just ask for that so we can prioritize what you need from us to meet those deadlines.
And we like to get things, if it's in our inbox, we like to get them out and shipped because we know it means a lot to you, and for us, we like to keep those inboxes low. So we'll work as fast as we can and usually return it around much before 10 days. Next slide, please. So, phase 2. So phase 1, all of that kind of had to do with the application. Phase 2 is you started an application, maybe you started on a Common App, maybe it's a school's own app. And by the way, if schools have multiple apps, they might have 3 apps or something, like they might have Coalition as well. Colleges always tell us that they have no preference as far as admitting students as to which app that you use, so don't feel bad about that. And feel free to ask any of those reps that you see at a college fair when they come in to visit us. I've never heard them say anything but that. So once you start that application process, it doesn't have to be necessarily finished. Your application doesn't have to be finished. Then you're going to have to log into School Links and go ahead and submit a request. Get it all kind of set up, make sure it's good to go. Because that will allow you to send transcripts and request teacher letters and request counselor letters if they're needed. So that's School Links part. The Common App part is where you're doing your essays and answering all those demographic questions, things like that. And then the School Links part is kind of that school piece that we're going to end up doing. And what's nice is that Common App and School Links pair together, and so a lot of that stuff will become self-populated into the School Links program. Okay? If you use a separate app, that's totally fine. The transcript gets sent via School Links. So School Links is kind of going to be that funnel for you. So this is what the screen is going to look like, students, when you log in. Parents don't have an account, students have the account. So you log on through your single sign-on and through your district Chromebook and go to colleges and then college applications. Next slide. The first time that you go into School Links, students, to get a request going, it's going to ask you several questions. It's going to ask you for your address, your non-school email. It's going to ask you if you would be eligible for a fee waiver. Our students on free and reduced lunch might check that box. Other students will check none of the above. You'll have to read those qualifications. And then as Mr. Boza talked about, there's a FERPA question. So those will come up and it won't let you do anything until you answer those questions. Once you answer those questions, then you're good to go. So what might happen for you, many of our students are applying on Common App. If you started an application on Common App, then you would have a Common App account. At the left there, I couldn't get our sample to replicate it, but will be a connect button for Common App. And once you connect it to your Common App account, then those schools that you're applying by Common App, as some of them up there are Common App, will populate in when you refresh the screen. Parents, when I worked with students last year in my office, And they sat down, it was really pretty easy for them. It's a pretty easy process when you're doing it. Once you go through it once, not bad at all. So the goal is to get your college in that left incomplete column there to start. Because if your college is in there, then the counselor side of it, we see it, and when you turn in your paper request, then we'll go ahead and act on it, and it's all set up, ready to go. The little pencil that I circled there means that's like the edit. That will give you the details. So the nice thing about School Links is like when we send the transcript, you don't have to call or stop in and ask, did you guys send that? It'll be shown right in there. So if you click on that little pencil when you're in your School Links account, it'll say requested and then when it's actually sent. Whether it's a counselor letter or a teacher letter or whatever it is you set up. And by the way, in regards to the letters, it's not typical for a teacher or counselor to give a letter to a student and say, hey, what do you think, and rewrite. No, if we're asked to write the letter, we write the letter, we submit, it goes directly to the college. But that's where you can check, so that little edit piece. And then if it's a non-Common App school or a coalition school, the little blue button up in the upper right, you hit Add Application. A search bar comes up. You put in the school, and you find the school and click it, and it will ask you a few questions, and then you'll add it, and it'll end up in that left column. Like, it'll look kind of like Illinois State in that case, where we said in this example, it's not from Common App. Next slide, please. This is that more detailed slide. When you click on that little pencil, this is what you'll see. The big thing on the left are things that you can do. We don't necessarily track those. Those are things for you to do. What we're looking at from the counselor end is the part on your far right. The school report for Common App is a report we have to fill out, but it includes the transcript. So that's important to know that if you see the school report sent, the transcript sent. Okay? The counselor recommendation there, see it says when it was added, it will also say sent, and it tells you if a counselor recommendation is needed, because for many schools, counselor recommendations are not needed. And then a mid-year report, I'll talk about that later in the presentation. Students, this is also where you request your teacher, you send the invite for them to do a letter of recommendation. But here's what we say. We don't want this to be the first time the teacher gets something from School Links asking for a letter of recommendation when you have never approached that teacher, preferably in person since we're in person. So the process is, after tonight, if you haven't done this already, first, know you need a letter of recommendation. If you need one, then ask. If you're not sure, don't ask yet. If you know you need one, ask the teacher. If the teacher says yes, then say, okay, when I get around to it in the next few weeks, I'll send you the link from School Links. And this is where you click there, add recommender, and you can then find your teacher's email on there, it'll populate, and you can put that request in and it goes to the teacher. Then again, the teacher sends it directly through School Links. So, again, just to reiterate, teacher recs go through School Links, transcripts, school reports, counselor recommendations go through School Links, Common App and separate applications, that's where you're doing your essays and your demographics and all that. Okay? Next slide, thank you. This is a nifty little tool that School Links added this summer. They revamped the student side. So up at the left, what we were looking at before was the board view. That's kind of the default. I asked School Links if they can make this our default, but the answer was no this year. But I really like this because when you go in here and click on the list at the upper left, it tells you the counselor docs. Those are in yellow or orange. But when we send them, I believe they turn green. So we'll see how that works, but I kind of like the visual of this screen. And again, that edit button is over at the right, those little pencils, to get to that other more detailed screen. So keep that in mind. If you like that, feel free to use that particular view of School Links. Next slide. So it's 2022 and we're still using a paper form. This is very deliberate, and I'll explain why. School Links is great. The requests go through School Links, we see it, it's nice. But when we were in COVID, we always used to have a form, very similar to this. When we were in COVID and it was all electronic, we found that there are a lot of little details that could get missed. And so the paper form obviously keeps a paper trail, but students, it's like, picture this like going to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress is taking your order on a slip and gives it to the chef. This is your directions to us. And it really, really helps us, and it's really saved us over the years, sometimes when we need to go back to see what we've done, or when we did it. It's just a little paper trail. And we also value this. Some of us are old school here, I'll admit to that. But we also appreciate the fact that with all this electronic stuff, we find that students, this gives them an opportunity to come into our house, talk with ourselves or our secretary, get on the same page, talk about what's needed, straighten things out, make sure things are set up right, and we really found that it's been helpful that way. So this is phase 3. For any school you're requesting a transcript, we ask that you put the college or university at the left. You tell us what kind of application it is. And if it's only a transcript, have it signed and turn it in. And then our house secretary or counselor, most of the times the house secretary, will make sure that it's in School Links correctly. And then it's all set up and we're ready to go and send it away. Now if you have like a counselor letter, hopefully you talk to the counselor, you would put Northwestern University, Common App, counselor letter. And the counselor knows, oh, I have to add a letter for that one. So it tells us some directions, it gives us some guidance, and it gives us a way to kind of keep track and communicate with you students as we go through the process. This is also on our website. You all have a copy in front of you. Directions are on the back. Next, please. Phase 4. This, I think we talked about a little bit last year, to send a test or not to send a test optional admissions. It's newer in the last 10 years. It was happening before COVID. It really accelerated during COVID. It's a great thing for many, but it also makes it more confusing. Because a student who has a test score for one school that they'll get in or could be great for scholarships, maybe another school that's maybe more selective, maybe that score is a little bit low. So it's not like a canned formula where you can just, hey, I'm going to send them all or I'm not going to send them all. It just kind of depends on the student and the school. So you have to do a little bit of research. My suggestion would be maybe look, usually colleges, if you go on their websites and type freshman profile or admission profile, you can kind of get to see the test scores that are accepted, the middle 50. That's sometimes a guide, but remember, with fewer students submitting test scores, the test scores that will be reported, because there's fewer and it's the kids that really want to submit them, the averages are probably going to be going up in the next few years because it's those students that really think that their scores are there. So it's all interesting, it's good in some ways, it's challenging in others, but it is what it is. There's a little video in our video library on our website. And I would also encourage you to look at each school you're applying to and see if your test scores will be used for admission or for scholarships. And some schools, maybe you wouldn't need it so much for admission, but maybe for some of those scholarships. So it can be a little bit tricky. Ask some good questions of those colleges. You can come in and ask us too. We can kind of give you an idea. And a lot of times we may say, you know what, maybe give that college a call. The other thing about the colleges is that some of them are very upfront. They're like, you know what, just what's your score? They'll talk to a student and they'll say, no, I wouldn't submit them, or yeah, that'd be great. And some schools are like, well, is that your best foot forward, or do you think it represents you well? And sometimes it's challenging. So we try to do the best with that. I know going through the process myself with my own children, that was probably one of the more challenging pieces of it. Next. If you do want to send your test scores, you go directly to the site. The great thing here is you have full control about your test scores. Even the score that you took as juniors, the SAT score that you took as juniors last year with us during the school day, we do not send that to colleges. So it's good for all of you that you have full control of that. You go through the testing companies and send them. But also don't forget, because like Mr. Boza said in some other cases, there's always a student that comes in and says, oh my gosh, I didn't know they needed my official scores from the testing company. And it's like the day before, can you help me? Stuff like that. We do also see some schools that are allowing for self-reporting of test scores. You might say, well, can't somebody falsify that? Well, here's the deal. If they do have that policy, and you submit a test score, self-reported, and you go to that school, then you have to send the official score from the testing company, so it wouldn't catch up with you if somebody wasn't honest. That's how that self-reporting stuff works. Next slide, please.
So letters of recommendation. I think it's very important to follow directions with what schools ask. For example, University of Illinois says do not send them, so please do not send them. We'll throw them right in the garbage, and it's almost like you're not following directions. So look at the application, see exactly what they want. If they're out there at the schools you're applying to and they need letters of rec, be proactive with asking teachers, give them ample time. They may say yes or no. A lot of the more popular teachers out there kind of put a limit on how many they may write per year. I think it's important to be proactive with that. A lot of teachers ask for a resume, or we do have a letter of rec form that students will fill out to help the teacher or counselor kind of know things they might do outside of school to help with that letter. So the biggest thing is to be proactive when asking the teachers you would like to write those, and follow directions from the schools. Next slide. There are schools out there that do self-reporting grades, like Mr. Doherty just talked about self-reporting test scores. Each student will receive your current transcript Monday or Tuesday for your English class. We're doing presentations. And they also will be listed on the student view, correct?
The actual transcript won't, but grades are listed.
Grades? Okay.
Yeah, in the course history section.
You need to be very careful and report the correct grades of those self-reporting schools. University of Illinois is, Iowa Public University, some California schools as well. So check accuracy, and be very careful what you report with those. Next slide. Again, talked about it a little bit before. There is a application fee waivers out there if your student is on fee waiver here at school for free or reduced lunch. You may want to put that on the application transcript form and talk to the counselor about it. There are over 510 schools listed on Common App that there is no fee for the application, so it's good to know that those are out there. If there are some financial issues, just have that discussion with the counselor, and we can talk about your personal situation as well.
So sometimes too, students, I know you get a lot of junk email from colleges and things, and your mailboxes are sometimes filled, but sometimes in those letters or in those emails might be a free application code as well. So just maybe do a quick glance if you want.
Again, following the directions of the application, not all schools ask for mid-year reports, but those of them that want them, that will indicate that. And then we ask in January, when your first semester grades will be posted, that's when we can send that transcript through school days. But we would like you to send the application paper in again to indicate to us that you need a mid-year. So you're going to turn in, let's say you turn in a form in the next month or so. If that school wants a mid-year report, we ask you to do another form in January, so that reminds us, hey, we need to send this mid-year to that school. So just be aware of what schools want the mid-years and what don't. We'll specifically ask for that as part of the application. And then just following up, sometimes this is the hardest part, to be patient and wait. If these schools, if there's missing items, they will let you know right away what you might be missing for their checklist. Just come to the counselor, we'll figure it out. Sometimes they, in fact, have it, it just hasn't come across their pile yet. At times we've looked at it and we eventually find out what's going on and get them the necessary information. Look at the deadlines for them and look at when information may be coming out from that particular school. It's hard to be patient, but be patient.
So the next part, again, like I said, we could spend a whole other hour, which we won't do, talking about financial aid and FAFSA and things. That's why we have our financial aid night. But we also know that parents and students ask a lot about scholarships and FAFSA and things. So we'll do a few slides about scholarships and FAFSA and then move forward. But FAFSA free application for federal student aid. Please, please, please. None of the hundreds of people here tonight, don't pay somebody to fill out a FAFSA. Please don't do that. It's free, and there are free resources. Marina Pasquale from ISAC, you can set an appointment with her, she'll help you. We counselors are experts on financial aid, and nor would I want to misadvise, so I always like to get people into the right places. So, but please don't pay for somebody to fill out the FAFSA for you. Some people, at some of the highly selective schools there at the bottom, it talks about the CSS profile. Some schools, like Northwestern, University of Chicago, things like that, a lot of times it's the highly selective schools, may require you this extra financial aid form. I'm not gonna lie, I've gone through that as well, and it is not a fun Saturday sitting down with your son or daughter, filling out these forms and all this financial questions and all that. It's not fun. Actually, with the CSS profile, there's a $25, I believe it is, fee that you have to fill out, and then there's also a cost to you to send it to the schools that you need to send it to. But if you're looking at like U of I, Illinois State, kind of your state schools, Michigan State, stuff like that, you're not going to need a CSS profile. More than likely, unless things have changed, but more than likely schools like that aren't looking at the profile. It gives a greater snapshot of your financial situation. The FAFSA is a graduation requirement, but hold on a second before we move on. We do have some families that have come to me and said, Mr. Doherty, we're just not filling that out, for whatever reason. That's fine. If you choose not to do that, there's a waiver form. So you need to fill out the FAFSA or fill out the waiver form that you don't want to do it and have that on file. Or if you're ineligible to fill out a FAFSA because of your status, there is also that Illinois state form as well. So Marina Pasquale can help us with special circumstances like that, but you should think about filling out the FAFSA. People ask me all the time at personal events that know what I do, would you do it? I'm like, absolutely, I do it, it's free. And you never know what you're going to get at what school. You really don't. You may not get something, you may get a lot. You just don't know. I would suggest you fill it out, but that is totally up to you if you choose not to get that waiver in. The waiver is on our website under the forms area. Next slide, please. This slide I'm really excited about because we have a lot of resources. And I had to make the fonts a little bit smaller to fit everything in. So there's a lot of resources to get about financial aid. Again, there's Marina's contact information. She's great and will be here September 30th, the 7th and 14th of October, and November 4th. There's a hotline number. Literally, when we were filling that out with my boys, I had to call that a couple times and ask how to report something. So that's an opportunity. Every college has experts in financial aid, so you can call a financial aid office at the colleges that you're most interested in. And there's also help from the federal government. Again, there's that September 28th date. Hopefully you'll fill the auditorium again and hear what Marina has to say about financial aid and the FAFSA. You cannot start filling it out until October 1st of your senior year, so please don't run home and do that tonight, because you can't. So, you apply in the fall. We always say kind of get those applications in by maybe November 1st, unless there's an earlier deadline. And then the schools will respond to you with what's called an award letter by April, usually. Sometimes it's really quick, and sometimes it takes a while. It depends on the school. Now, you may get an admission letter. Congratulations, you made it to Illinois State University and you got this scholarship. That's an admission letter. But then the award letter will come later, and it has scholarships, free money, good money, grant money, free money, good money. You don't have to pay those back. And then loans. Please don't ask me about the new laws that came out. I'm not going to respond. I don't even know all about them, but loans are the hot topic these days. But loans are money that typically you have to pay back with interest. So I always, and when these financial aid letters come out, I tell students and parents, watch how they're worded. Sometimes they're very difficult to decipher. Feel free to have your son or daughter bring one in if they want to kind of go through it. I remember being on the phone with a student and a parent kind of explaining some of that. But remember, loans are sometimes packaged in, and it almost looks like that's money that you have. Well, it's money that you have, but you're paying that money back plus interest in a typical scenario. So then you get all these letters, and then you'll have the full picture, and then it's up to you to decide by May 1st where it is you would like to go. That's the National Committing Day. So that's kind of the summary of the process. Don't be afraid to apply to schools you haven't visited. It's okay. You might get accepted. You might have some like financial fit schools you want to apply to. Like, I've never seen them, but it might work out. So go ahead and apply. If you get in before May 1st, make a trip out there, make sure it's a good fit if it comes out to play, and go from there. They may pressure you a little bit to put down a deposit for housing. Ask if those deposits are refundable or not. Depending on your family situation, maybe it's worth it to you to put a non-refundable deposit of $200 down to get a better room, knowing you might lose it if you switch to another school, but that's totally a family preference and what you want to do. But just know you will get these letters like, sign up, but really the offers they give you in most cases are till May 1st, unless it's like an early decision or something like that. Next. Scholarships, again, local scholarships, again, that's one of those 5 buttons I showed you at the very beginning. I will say this, most of the local scholarships are usually around December to like March-ish, but there's one, they could start now, and there's one in the Aurora area, I believe it's called a PEO, it's $2,500 for females. And we have it posted, and last year one of our Matthias students got it because they went to our website and they checked it out, they went through the work, and we had a lot of applicants for that particular scholarship. I will tell you, it's fun talking to some of the local scholarships, I'm talking from Naperville, Aurora, and finding out the low numbers of students that apply, and we have such a great, large crowd here. I would encourage you, I've heard numbers as low for some, and I won't name the organizations, but less than 25 or so. So if you're one of those, your chances for local scholarships, even though they're $1,000, they're not like $20,000, are what could be better. So really look at our local scholarships tab. We try to make it easy and post those there. School Links also has this a part that I put up here. You might see duplicates in School Links, but you might find some other things, but the local things that we get sent, we really push there. So keep looking once a week, it's worth your time. Your workplaces, your banks, your dentists, your own workplaces maybe have a scholarship, it's worth an ask there. Every little bit counts. And then FastWeb is a national database, you put in your information. Again, it's national scholarships. Applicant pools are bigger, but you never know. We have our own scholarships, probably between, I think it was probably between $10,000 and $20,000 worth of money, thanks to the organizations that work with Mattia, that will provide money strictly to Mattia students, all of them but one. One goes to either Nico Bonzi or Mattia, but that comes out in mid-February. So keep that in mind. Ask me for questions on that. And then, as we start to wrap up, students, we have those college visits. We haven't even talked about them yet, but we have students coming in to sign up. They come into the College Career Center starting September 12th, Monday through Thursday. Thursdays most weeks. These are representatives from the colleges that come in. Great way to put a face to an application, since when you're applying to colleges, a lot of times it's just paper. Some of these people, like Megan, I don't believe she's our actual rep, but some of the people that come in are the people who are reading your applications. So it's a great opportunity for you to maybe meet, get questions answered, and things like that. We talked about the college fairs earlier, and there it is at uvisit.com if you want to do some virtual visits. School Links also in their college search section has some virtual visits as well. To come to a visit, come to our College Career Center and you sign up, and we give you a ticket to take to your teacher if you're going to miss a class, so that they can approve. A teacher may not approve, that's okay, because they want you to be there to take that test, but a lot of times they will, and you need that ticket to enter the college visit. If it's during your lunch, you just come in and sign up so we know how many students are coming, and then come on in during your lunch and come see that.
So just some odds and ends as you're wrapping up some questions you might have on the applications. We do not rank as a district. If they ask for class rank, we do not rank. Our grading scale is out of a 4.0. The school profile, which will be ready to go September 1st, every time we send your transcript out, that is automatically sent with each school. It brags about where your student comes from here at Mattia Valley. We kind of brag about what we offer, what our previous students have done, what classes we offer, so it's a good document. When those transcripts go out, they will show the senior classes, and then the colleges take into consideration what your son or daughter is taking senior year. So if you're considering dropping a course maybe in the future, or looking at your schedule, altering it, it's important that you talk to the colleges before you make those decisions. Because sometimes they take into account what you're taking and make a decision based off that. As always, you always have to have 6 classes. We have had some seniors try and drop some classes already, but they have 6 classes and they can't do that, so minimum is 6. Of course, through the whole process, never hesitate to ask any of us any questions. Next slide. Individual counselors' doors are open all the time. Mr. Doherty's available at College Career Center as well, so we are here to help you, your son or daughter, go through this process. We're here every step of the way. We get out weekly details in MB News. We have our website, and we put some stuff out on our Twitter feed as well. So information is definitely out there.
As we wrap up, first of all, thank you. Congratulations on finishing your high school career. Let's give you all a round of applause. Students, congratulations on quite a journey. Quite a journey we never expected. Parents, thank you for all of your support all of these years on a journey that we never expected. I would offer you this advice: if your son or daughter is going to college, buy yourself a few Kleenex boxes for the ride home as you say goodbye. My wife can attest to that for sure. And we'll pause just a second to say goodbye to those who want to go. You're not being, go ahead. Thank you for coming. And we would also, we will all stay for some questions. We prefer questions from the group because it will answer probably somebody else's questions. So Ms. Hutzler and Ms. Kurth will be walking around with the microphones, and all 4 of us will kind of chime in as we see fit. All of you leaving, thank you for coming. Drive safely. Hopefully we'll see you in September for financial aid night. We'll wait just a second here as they clear out. Enjoy your neighbors here. people who are left, we would appreciate it if you'd sit down, and we'll take some raises of hands. And we're gonna have a group Q&A here, and then at the end, if there's some time, we can take some individual questions. So we're gonna have some group questions for 5-10 minutes here. Finish up. Individual, or you may need to call your